Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Zybo 737. My name's Clay. First off, thanks to X-Plane and Zybo for this amazing product. I fly this airplane almost daily in real life, and I am continually amazed at how accurate this is. Hey, today I wanted to cover a couple of scenarios. This is the first video that I wanted to make to cover sort of common approach scenarios where people tend to struggle. The one that I think comes up most often is the high downwind visual, when you're expecting that nice leisurely bomber pattern and things change and suddenly you're number one for the runway. You're more than 4,500 to 5,000 AGL up in the downwind, and really the expectation is not only for you to fly a nice square approach, but to do it without wasting any excess track mileage, which results in extra fuel burn. On the other hand, we don't want to cut the approach so close that we end up doing a go-around and wasting even more fuel. So it's very common to sort of wonder when is the right time to turn in from that downwind to base. And there's a variety of techniques out there, rules of thumb. Some people they'll put the runway up in the fixed page and minus AGL. Some people just say that their altitude AGL is the final they want. 5,000 AGL would equal a 5-mile final. That's all fine and great when you're sitting at a desk drawing it on paper, but up in the real airplane in the heat of the moment, it can be very difficult to do this actually. So a great way to do thing, we have a technique here on the VNAV page, is the vertical bearing feature. So to use it, I just come into VNAV, find descent, and I'm going to put the runway, which today we're using 20 right, with a slash. And I'm going to put it right up here on waypoint altitude. Because we put a slash in it, it's automatically going to populate the altitude. And notice I get flight path angle and vertical bearing. Okay? Right now we're just becoming a beam the airport, and as we start flying downwind and away from the runway, we're going to start seeing that number go down. And with a 4 to 5 mile downwind, which is almost always going to be your downwind space, the number that we like to see is 8 for the turn in. When it reaches 8 degrees, I'm going to turn in. Okay? So a beam the threshold here, I'm going to clear myself for the approach. Southwest 500, cleared visual approach, runway 20 right, you're number 1. Okay, well, hey, I'm going to go ahead and slow to flaps 5 speed. And I'm going to lower the landing gear. I'm going to set 1,000 feet up here on my MCP and go to level change. Alright, so this is a good configuration to get the airplane to come down. But the key is also to slow down before you go down, okay? It's really pretty poor to try to dive the airplane down at a high speed and recover it all later. It just usually doesn't work. You really need to slow the airplane down first, add the drag. That puts you in a very comfortable position to make a nice tight approach. You can see there's our vertical bearing 8 degrees. I'm going to start the base leg right now. Furthermore, bring our runway up, extend the center line. Okay. Our nav display here makes for a very nice graphical representation of our approach, because we have the track function. We can easily keep 90 degrees. So right now you can see a lot of people are going to be looking at you thinking, boy, you sure look high to me. On the base leg, we go flaps 15. All right, I'm just going to use 170 here. But as long as you keep this approach nice and square, there's our runway. This is going to work out beautifully. Notice the vertical bearing is decreasing. FPA is flight path angle. That's what you, the flying pilot, is. That's what you're doing. Think of it as flying pilot angle. Okay, so notice we're underneath our vertical bearing, which means we're coming into our glide slope here. All right, a little less than a mile to the runway. I'll start the turn. For a 30-degree bank, you can always count on about 3/4 of a mile. Okay, I'm going to slow the airplane down as well.
1,000 to go.
Hit approach mode.
1,000 to go.
There's forelook. There's approach. Glide slope, zeros. Flaps 25. Set speed. And look how nice that came out. We right there at 4 mile final. You really can't do any better than that. Alright, Southwest 500 clear to land. And we'll go ahead and get our final configuration in, no later than 1,000 AGL. Today we're using flaps 40. Our ref speed is 147 is our target. Things are coming together very nicely here. 1,000 feet, airspeed 148, sync rate 800. I'm going to go ahead and turn the autopilot off. And we'll hand fly this approach. Now in Orange County, it's a short runway. I'm going to probably use a little bit of a technique coming underneath, as far as coming underneath the glide path. When we go within about a half mile of the runway, just shaving off even a quarter dot of that glide slope really helps give you some extra time to work out the flare. We really want to put this on the 1,000-foot marker or aim point of the runway. It's only 5,500 feet long, so this is not really the time or place to be trying to eke out an extremely smooth landing at a place where you have a nice long runway like you would maybe up the coast there at LAX. Okay, so again, I'm going to come underneath the glide path here a little bit. And at flaps 40, notice it takes a much higher in one to maintain the glide path as well. I'm also going to pull the power a little later. Okay, I'm going to hold power to about 10 feet AGL.
Approaching minimums. 10.
Alright, reversers. Nose wheels on the ground. I'm going to start using the brakes.
knots.
80 knots. Go to idle. Close the reversers. And you can see we're easily going to make taxiway echo here. Alright, we're clear of the runway, flaps up after landing checklist. Alright, well hey, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm going to have another video of another common approach scenario coming up, and that's going to be when you're cleared the high energy approach, when you're cleared on slope from 250 knots. So that'll be next in the series. So again, I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, what you're looking for here is that vertical bearing of 8. That's when you turn downwind to base. It works every time. Have a great one, guys.